We are live now.
We are live.
Thank you. So we'll be looking at the questions for discussion. I hope I'm doing the right thing. If I'm not, let me know, please. Start the discussion by asking one student to list the positive results of the pilot program. There are lots of examples. So, what are some of the positive results of the pilot program?
There was better morale among the participants, the employees. They talked about at the very beginning, they had a lot of the employees didn't have a lot of morale, and because of the mentoring program, they felt more valued as employees. They had better esteem as being part of the company.
Yes, as I read that part, I thought of how important mentoring is. We can see the magic it performs in changing their perception about themselves, and it increased their morale. Yes, Wendy.
I also, one employee mentioned that she didn't realize what opportunities there were for her within the company. And she was actually thinking about leaving the company because she didn't see that there was any way for her to move up. But through that, through the mentoring program, she saw that there were opportunities.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that the one in the circle, the graduate students, that the one of the supervisors thought it would be a good idea to go back to school, like from their the mentoree, to help the mentor learn that she needed to go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to note these points down. So. Okay, are there any more on these questions?
There was also the employee who wasn't sure if she was going to leave or not. Talked about it and what other opportunities there were in the company for her, or opportunities outside. They talked about both in her circle group, and she felt like if she did leave, she would be better informed about what career paths she could do outside. She felt more confident basically in whichever choice she decided to go with, staying or leaving. She felt more confident. She felt like she had more information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, just as an employee maybe, or somebody coming in, you don't always know what's expected. But if you have somebody that's in it and somebody that's experienced something that maybe you're looking into, it helps you to understand more about what's going to happen and what's going on, and it's really something you want to pursue, just from an experience standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're also going to talk about the obvious some of the reasons. Okay, that's the second question about the positive results of the pilot program. So you can see that a lot of these positive things came because of the mentoring, the pilot program. They got to know more opportunities and all that.
I think it was also
What are some of the?
I thought it was a great opportunity for the employees to come together, for the cause of not only bettering their company, but helping each other to succeed within that company. And I think it just helped them feel a little more invested in each other and each other's success.
Yeah.
So And what else do you think might have helped the program to go well?
I think the mentors actually being invested in helping people can be a big part of the program.
Yeah.
I think that they had
So
somebody that was kind of
how
over.
these reasons or calls for success resulted in success, which ones are the most important? Are any of them specific to the bank, or will they work in other organizations?
I think a lot of the qualities that they were looking at in the mentoring program were qualities that you could use in any business sector. It wasn't just for finance. I mean, they were, oh gosh, now I have to find it again. They were talking about making sure that they, okay, so communication, super important in any business. The customer focus, empowerment, leadership. I mean, all those things are qualities that you can develop in any business sector.
Exactly. Like the customer focus you mentioned, irrespective of the business you're doing, you even if you're doing service, you need your clients and these people you need to treat them well so they can come back and still patronize. So the customer focus part cut across all business. Even the NGOs, those you render your service to, you also need to treat them well so that your service will be appreciated, they'll give you positive feedback. And so that was a great point. Thank you. Okay, so the part two, the mentoring discussion, that we should talk about how can mentoring help employees with career development.
I think that
There
goes
was,
back to what Alex was talking about, where Alex was saying if you don't know what you're doing, going into an organization, then to have somebody kind of walk you through it is, helpful. Like you have to learn the culture, you have to learn the environment, you have to learn what you're supposed to be doing, and so to have somebody mentor is helpful. And I like that in this company they were trying to help people have access to more opportunity.
Well, and I think sometimes if you're a part of a large company, it might be intimidating to look around and see what your opportunities are. So if you have someone directly that you can go talk to about what opportunities and where you can take your career path, that would be nice.
Especially when it has to do with promotion. You want to find out how long do I have to do, what do I need to do, how long do I stay in this place if I get promoted, or if I need to progress in my career, what way should I sharpen my skills? What training do I need to make me stand out so that among my peers I'll be seen to be someone making improvements rather than just remaining at one position or one thing. So it helps a lot. And in my experience, I've worked as a volunteer at a mentoring center, and we call it a PEF mentoring center. And sometimes you have a lot of people come in to just ask you questions that you feel they should know, but clearly they don't know. So they ask you these questions, and you get to walk them through the whole process, and you explain it again. They come back. You tell them, okay, instead of this, why not do this? For example, a while ago, I was somebody contacted me that my friend asked him to speak with me about career options in school. And he said he wants to go take a loan, a PEF loan. How many of you know PEF loan? We know the PEF loan, Perpetual Education Fund. It's a church loan that is giving that they have specific countries where it's operational for people to take to go to school or vocational training. So he just returned from mission, and he said he wanted to take a PF loan to do some 6 months vocational course. He wants to learn to repair refrigerators and AC. And I told him that's an excellent idea. But what's your long-term goal? I asked him. He said he wants to be an accountant. I said, okay. And how do you intend funding your accounting program? Said he just want to get something doing. Said, okay, let's talk more about your career options. What were you doing before you went on mission? Said he used to go to fishing and he would sell the fish and he make money. Said, do you still have your fishing boat and net? He said, yes. In fact, he told me he has gone a couple of times. I said, and you made some good cash? He said, yes. Okay, here's what I would suggest. Instead of taking the loan to run a 6 months program, why not continue doing the fishing and then you make some savings and you come back for the loan instead for your long-term accounting program? He left, and the next thing my friend called me that the advice I gave him was so nice that he's happy. In fact, he has gone around to restaurants asking them if he can supply them fish, and he's preparing a business card that he could share for people to contact him if they need fish. And I felt if he wasn't given that kind of guidance, he probably would have gone to take the loan, do that program, and who knows, we're probably struggling to gather customers that he will repair refrigerators and so forth. So the mentoring part is really key.
Yeah, that was the problem that the bank noticed too, was they were really good on the short-term goals before the mentoring program, but they didn't have a lot of the long-term goals. I think mentoring is huge for that, helping you to see more than a year in advance or so.
Yeah. So, what other approaches or programs might help employees to develop their careers?
I like that this company had the tuition assistance plan, and I thought that's what I thought was interesting about the mentoree that was already in school, and like the mentor decided they needed to go to school because they were like, "Why are you not taking advantage of this program that our company offers?" And so I think that's a really good program to have, is the tuition assistance. I think, it's like the example you were just sharing, Elijah, where your friend wanted to go to school and wanted to better himself, but just didn't really know how to achieve the long-term vision. Like, is it better to do a short-term thing in school, even though that takes a loan, and then get working somehow, and then, go back with your program, but will you have the money? Repairing refrigeration and air conditioning is pretty intense on your body. So would he even have the health or the ability 6 months down the road after doing that to continue to do that to make the money to go to the accounting school? And so I think that definitely it helps with the long-term goals, but also just kind of understanding how to balance that money and having the help with the finances.
Another thing I find with the mentoring part is that it doesn't just only straighten out a career path for the individual, but it also helps with questions and concerns that may come along the way. I want to go to law school. Now I'm in the law school, but I don't know what next to do. And you kind of wonder, why did you went there in the first place? But certainly the person, maybe because of assignments and all that, is kind of not sure what next to do. At that point, the person need the mentoring. Is okay. Take your time, do one thing at a time. You can go through this program and be successful. So mentoring at all points is very important. And at BYI, I would encourage us to get mentors, and I like that. I have mentors who I talk to every now and then to just give me the courage and I need to continue the program, especially when you're doing an online program in Africa. It's really, really challenging.
Definitely.
So, so anyone has an experience with mentoring, whether formal or informal, as a mentor or mentee? What are the benefits and obstacles, the downsides?
I've had an experience, or I currently have an experience as a volunteer at the hospital. And when we get a new volunteer, they're usually matched up with somebody who's been there and, you know, knows how to do it. And we mentor them and we walk them through the processes and the different things that we do, explaining why we do things and answering their questions. And I think it's a great way for them to learn, but I also think that it can bring forward maybe things that we do that they ask questions about, you know, well, why do you do that? Well, I don't know, you know, and it really helps you realize, are the things that you're doing done in, you know, could they be improved or, you know, eliminated altogether or whatever. But anyway, I think it's beneficial for both the person who is the mentor and the person who's being trained.
Yeah, I was going to say my example with mentoring or being a mentee is I did Pathway to come back to school. And when I first, I didn't know anything about it. I wanted to go to school. I've known since I got my associate's degree that I wanted to be back in school, but I had no idea how to like fund it and figure it out. And then a friend was doing Pathway and she told me about it. And she was kind of hesitant because she's not really telling a lot of people she's in school because she doesn't have a lot of family support. And I was like, no, tell me because I want to go to school. I want to hear about it. And then I kept thinking, oh, I did pretty good in school. It'll be no big deal. It'll be no problem. But then just having those, like the rest of the group and the senior missionaries to like keep you going, because Pathway was surprisingly harder than I expected it to be. And even though it's like you know, 10-10 classes or whatever, it was pretty intense. And so to have those mentors to like just be cheering for you, to have like cheerleaders, that helps. And to have somebody to explain what, you know, I think like all of us, we have the chance to all be mentors to explain to other people how we're getting our education, because they might not realize what BYU Idaho offers. Like I had no idea. And so like we have that opportunity to be examples and show people how it's possible and how it can be done. Like for Elijah to explain the Perpetual Education Fund, that's not something that we understand super well here in Utah and Idaho and in the States because it's not necessarily available to us. So he has that opportunity to explain that to people and explain how it works and to explain, don't use it for a 6-month period of time, use it for a longer period of time. Or we have the opportunity to say, hey, try Pathway or try this or do, you know, and so I think that's one way that we can all be mentors, benefit from the mentoring we've had.
It's nice to get advice from people who've been there and done that, I think. You know, it's nice to know their thought processes and maybe what worked for them and what didn't work for them in order for us to know what decisions to make moving forward.
Yeah, kind of like what was said earlier, the better informed, confident decision making.
Yeah, for sure.
The only real example I have of being a mentor or mentee is going on a mission. You expect that you know what you're doing because it's like, oh, I go on a mission and talk to people. But when you get there, you're really like, oh, I really don't have any idea what to do or what needs done. And so just having that person that's been doing it for a while to guide you and direct you in what exactly to do and how to go about doing things is a great help. And it would, like, without it would make things so much more difficult. So I just feel like it's the same in a lot of businesses, really. When you go into a new job, like, yeah, you might have gone to school and studied and learned about a lot of different things, but each job can be different. And learning those little things that each company likes and each company does differently from a mentor will make that a lot easier.
Mhm.
And I feel like it makes your job that much better because you're not in this period of, I don't know what to do. How do I get things done? How do I accomplish the goals that are set before me? And so just having that mentor that's done it previously can be a big help.
Yeah. I've watched my daughter, she's in sports med. And when you're in sports med 2, you get a sports med 3 mentor. So last year she had a sports med 3 mentor that kind of just ignored her and didn't really do anything. She found it very frustrating at the end to get her things passed off for the final and stuff like that. So one thing that's taught her this year is, as she's a Sports 3 mentor, she's taking that time with her mentees to really help them out. And I see how it's benefiting her as a mentor and benefiting the mentees, that since she kind of had a bad experience, that she can make it a better experience for them. But then also, I think it's also important in a company, just looking at it from my daughter's perspective, because the teacher can't sit and pass off every student. They don't have enough time, and supervisors may not have enough time to spend with every employee. But as a mentor program is set up, you can get more hands-on from more experienced people that you wouldn't get who doesn't have enough time.
That's a really good
It is-
point.
Yeah, it is comforting to know that there's somebody you can run to for ideas or for suggestions, and that there's a mentor somewhere you can call at any time. But there's some mentees are also difficult to deal with. And you explain one thing over and over again, the person keep coming back with the same concern. Said, "Let's do it this way." I used to have a friend that he said he wants me to be his mentor. I said, "Okay, I'll be glad to do that. But first, let's talk on how we agree on doing this mentoring business, because it appears you and I don't agree on terms at all." When he comes up with an idea and it's okay, let's talk about it. Oh no, you don't know what we're talking. I said, I'm the mentor here. Yeah, we will talk about it. In fact, sometimes he will even insult me. I just kept quiet and listened, and after a while he came back and said, I think you're right in what you said. I said, that's why I didn't say anything. I knew you would come back. So something that takes patience, and just patiently listening and understanding, and give them the proper guidance. And it does help. Even in my calling as a stake seminar and institute supervisor, when I get to meet with the stake seminar and institute teachers, they come with so many complaints. My students are not doing this. My students said, okay, let's talk about the problems and let's see how we can help solve them. And the part of mentoring that I like most is the part where you don't get to do it for the person, but you get to work with the person to do it. There are some mentors that when you come up with a problem, oh, I can't solve this 1 plus 1, they immediately take it and solve it for you. But others will say, okay, let's sit down. What part of it you don't understand? What do you understand already about it? Let's start from what you know, okay? And then at the long run, the person knows better how to do it. So should the person come across such problem next time, the person, okay, my mentor taught me already how to do this. And I try to follow that example in my leadership assignments in the church, and it's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're on part 3, analyzing the program. Would a less formal mentoring program be even better, where mentees are free to find whatever mentors they need to help them progress in their careers rather than being assigned to someone?
I don't think so. Because when I go look for somebody for me, I'm going to look for somebody that, I don't know, might be easy on me. I just think that you wouldn't look for the right fit, somebody that's really going to push you. You need to find someone that's going to offer you the strengths that you don't necessarily have and push you towards those.
I think that we are generally creatures of habit and comfort, right? So we're not going to go very far out of our comfort zone looking for the answers that we might need. Like I wanted to go back to school, but I wasn't going super far out of my comfort zone to figure out how to pay for it. Like I was like, well, I don't want a student loan, so I don't know what I'm going to do. And had I not been talking to a friend, I don't know that I would have found out, right? So I think a mentoring program, how this company did it, where they matched interests and different things and like what their goals were with somebody that could help them, that helps us get out of that habit and comfort zone that we hang out in.
I also think it would be really hard for a new employee or, you know, someone fairly new to the company to even know what the options are for mentors, let alone have the courage to go up and say, hey, will you mentor me? You know, I think it's just easier just to put it in their laps and, you know, assign it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, as a new employee or a new person into something, you don't really know what you need. You don't really know what to look for in a mentor, and so it'd be tough to choose one that would be right.
Well, and it seems like the point of this program was to give people access. If they had access to their own mentors, they wouldn't need the program, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's like you said, they didn't know who to go ask because they already didn't think they had access.
I think too, with the more informal program, you run the risk of it just being more friendships or commiseration than let me get you the information that you need. You know, I'm really frustrated because I don't see how my degree fits in with this new job that I have. I know, right? Isn't that terrible? Instead of, well, here, let's talk about, you know, they had the little circle group. Let's talk about how finance goes with what you just learned with your degree.
Right. And I think that if the people that needed mentors went out searching for people, they wouldn't, you know, you'd almost have to train every employee in the company to be a mentor and to know how to handle situations like that and to know what to say in order for them to be successful. Well, that might not be plausible to do, you know, feasible. And so, you know, just to have a certain group saying, okay, these are our mentors, this makes more sense to me.
I think the formal training is a really good point of this program, because they like sat them down and explained to the mentorees like questions to ask, and they explained to the mentors like how to handle those questions. So my kids go to a charter school and we don't have a PTA, but it's called the FAST team. And how it works is, so I'm a co-chair this year. So last year I was a co-chair, but I was supposed to be being trained by the person that was the co-chair. So you're co-chair for 2 years. So 1 year you're training, and then other year you're being trained. Well, the co-chair I was with, all she said to me was take notes, take really good notes, just take really good notes. So like we had to plan our school fun run, and I was like, I know how to order the numbers for the race, but I don't know anything else because there was nothing to take notes on. And we had the same problem with the lady planning family activities. Like we didn't have anyone that was her trainee last year. And so this year, jumping into it, it was an absolute nightmare to plan our first activity. And so I think that formal, like you said, that they couldn't train everyone, and so they have to set it up so there's certain people that are mentors, because it's just not practical to train everyone, and there's no way everyone can know everything.
Yes, but why would a company want to create a formal mentoring program rather than allowing mentoring relationship to form more naturally?
For one thing, they probably want their top employees to be the mentors. I mean, you're not going to want somebody who's, you know, a goofball and not staying on task and whatever to step up and be a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked how they chose who the mentors would be. You know, they had to have a certain amount of experience, but they also had to be dependable employees, people that they trusted to be in that role as a mentor. And that's so important, I think, is, you know, that not just knowing the job, but having the skill set to be able to teach somebody else how to do those things. And that's something that you can teach someone when you know that they are dependable and responsible and things like that. It's like what was it last week that they talked about? You can empower the knowledgeable, or you can give knowledge to the powerful, right?
Well, and one thing I think about is it will offer more opportunities. Because could you imagine if like the bishop just stood up and said, hey, go pick 2 people to visit teach? It's not going to happen. People are going to fall through the cracks. A more formal program will, make sure that people don't fall through the cracks and people get set up with the right type of people that can help them succeed.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
it would be hard for people to feel motivated to, either offer to be a mentor or to go out and find that mentor if it's not something that's set in place, because people already have a lot to do at work and a lot to get done, and they're not going to be looking to, oh, I need to go help this person who, maybe is going to take my job, or I don't know, anything like that. I just feel like it's not something that people are really looking to do. So having it set in place um, definitely helps it to take effect.
As Alex mentioned earlier on about mission, it just came to my mind that the way the mission is designed, you don't get to choose your companion. The mission president gets to assign your companion. Sometimes you just feel like, no, I don't want to work with this person. And the mission said, you have no option, just learn to live with the person. And by the time it gets to when you're supposed to go and transfer, you feel like, no, I want to remain with this person. So if the person, if missionaries are allowed to choose their companion, we all want to pick up persons that goes very well with us. But this other person comes in to help us learn one thing about ourselves, or to learn a new attribute, or to develop a new attribute, and then we grow on that and become part of us. But I think so. Formal mentoring program also serves that purpose.
Yeah, I agree with that. My husband told me about an example on his mission. When he was first out, he was put with a companion that they just did not have personalities that meshed in any way, shape, or form. And then at the end of his mission, both of them were made APs. And he thought, what the heck is this mission president doing? We didn't get along. We didn't work well together. Nothing worked out when we were companions. But he ended up being one of my husband's best friends from his mission. And even though they butted heads a lot, it challenged them and it made them want to do better because of that. And if he would have picked that, he would have never picked that guy at all.
Yep.
There's
Okay,
also
so
the
what
example.
might have been improved in the Federal Reserve Bank program?
I think their choice not to advertise the second time as much kind of gave people the impression that it wasn't successful. I think if they would have advertised the second time as much as they did the first time, that they might have gotten more recipients.
Yeah, that could be the case. One thing that kind of stood out to me was that the time involved that it took for people, it took them away from their jobs, and the supervisors didn't like it, and so maybe it needed to be revised so that it just didn't require quite as much time away from their work. Maybe maybe they were getting kickback from their supervisors, and they felt like if they enter the mentoring program, it would cause some problems there within their own department.
Yeah, I would say that's one area that they could improve and maybe train those supervisors, because they're telling the people that apply there won't be any repercussions if you do this from your supervisors, but there's the one testimonial about how there was. And so I think that, yeah, definitely they needed to get the supervisors more on board, like upper management's on board and like lower people are on board, right? But the middle that are directly involved, like the direct, kind of from a couple weeks ago, that direct boss needs to hire, the direct boss needs to be on board with this program. Whether they go through it so that they can testify of it. Like I think about Pathway. A lot of the success of Pathway is that the people that do it start telling people about it. It's a lot of word of mouth. And so I think if they could get the supervisors to go through the program, then they'd have that word of mouth from the supervisors, and the supervisors would see that it benefits. Because like towards the end where it says that everyone kind of needed to understand the benefit of it, I think that's where the improvement needed to be for sure.
Right. Somewhere in there, it was talking about who was invited to come to the final thing where they were talking about how the success of the program. And I noticed on there, they didn't invite any employees outside of the ones who were mentors or mentees. And so nobody could hear the testimonies of these people who loved the program and really benefited from it. And so I think that could have helped, encourage people to want to sign up themselves for the next round if they could have heard that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because I know they said they put up testimonials on plaques or not on advertisements and stuff, but how much do people really read that? I mean, walking in the hallway, do you really have the time to stop and read that? I think actually hearing it, you get benefit from it.
Well, and hearing it from the person that had the experience, right? I mean, is that not the point of testimony meeting, right? You testify because you have the experience that gave you the testimony. Like, you don't necessarily have to share what that experience is that gave you the testimony, but your experience gave you the testimony with whatever whatever principle or doctrine it is. And so, yeah, if more people could have gone to that celebration lunch, then it's way more impactful to hear that actual testimonial than read it. So much is lost in, think about how much is lost in texting or emailing, or, so much is lost in the written word that isn't lost when you say it.
I agree with that. I think it would have been better if it had been like a company-wide lunch or, big picnic in the park day or something for them, and then they could do the testimonials there. I think that would have helped the supervisors to see how it would be better for their workers, and they'd give more support. And I think it would help more mentees look at the program and say, oh, hey, it helps so-and-so, I know them, or I could really learn something in that area that person is talking about. I think it would have made it a lot more open to everybody at work, and I think it would have made it a much more positive thing for the entire company.
Yeah, because overall, logistically, it's not broken, right? Like, my first thought when I was looking at the discussion prep where it said, how should the bank move forward? I was like, it's not really broken. It doesn't need to be fixed. It just needs to be advertised. Like, all the logistics of it work really well. It's just people need to know about it and understand its value.
So the key thing here is to advertise more. I think that more like answers the first question in the part 4. Why do you think less people signed up for the second program? Because not much awareness was made.
Yeah.
So what could the company have done to get more applicants? To advertise more?
Make it so that the employees that did the program were able to get the word out themselves.
Maybe they had those 3 meetings where potential mentors, mentees could learn more about the program. Maybe if they had done a lunchtime meeting where a couple people came to do the testimonials, this is how it helped this past year.
Well, and one thing that kind of bothered me with the initial, we're only going to do 25, would that be frustrating to apply for this and be excited about it and then be turned down? So maybe had to be turned away, maybe guarantee them, okay, the next time we do this, you have a guaranteed spot. Because if you get turned down, it doesn't make I can do it again and get, not knowing if you can get turned down again. I mean, what would be the point of doing it again? If that made sense.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea, because I was just thinking, my son this week, he was applying to the University of Utah just to apply so he can start looking at scholarships. And he was in the middle of typing something, and it came up and said, due to inactivity, we're closing this unless you keep, and he was in the middle of working, it just knocked him out. And he's like, I'm done. I'm not going to finish filling it out today. And I'm like, buddy, it's due soon. And he's like, I'm tired. I'm frustrated. And so, yeah, the minute something doesn't always go your way, he started again the next night, but it's like, he was just turned off by the fact that it had a computer glitch. And so, like you said, a guaranteed spot would help, because when things don't go according to our plan, we kind of have a tendency to shut down.
Yeah.
Mhm. So moving forward, what should they do with the mentoring program? Should they expand or should they keep it small?
I think because of the. Sorry, no, you can go.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I think just because of the like positive responses to the mentoring program that they received, that they should definitely move forward with it. And you know, the Federal Reserve of Chicago is just like one area of the Federal Reserve, and if they were trying that in a lot of different places, you know, it can really improve a company.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking, I mean, they didn't really mention how big the company was. So I think it depends on like how big the company is. 25 just kind of seems small to start out with. But if it's only 100 employees, that wouldn't be small, you know? So I think it just depends on, I guess, the size of the company. I would think the Federal Reserve would be large, so 25 seems small.
I agree with you, Wendy. I think that should be taken into consideration, and perhaps having a meeting with the supervisors even and saying, okay, this program was a huge success, but we know that by expanding it, it's going to take more people off of their regular work. And then talk to the supervisors about maybe how many people they could afford to have in their group go and be their mentor or mentee without it causing too much, you know, upset in their department.
That's a good idea. That way the supervisors feel like they have a say in it, and maybe they won't show so much animosity towards it.
Right.
Well, and it seems like there was a lot of load on the Amy, right? So Amy was going to do this for the 10 hours, and then she ended up doing it full time. So if you expand it, you might be putting more load on her. So are you willing to get her an assistant? Or like you said, go to the supervisors. And if you can get the supervisors on board and they can serve sort of as assistants to her as they pick people and allow so many people, then that might help you be able to expand it. But you definitely need to look at the supervisors and what they can handle gone, and also what Amy can handle.
Okay. So how do they get more people without forcing them to be involved?
I really think that if it was as successful as it seemed like, that word of mouth will do it. Because like Cindy said, I knew I wanted to go back to school. I loved my time when I was in Rexburg at Rick's, and that's the experience I wanted. And if someone wouldn't have told me about Pathways, I wouldn't be here today. And so that's how successful programs, I guess, matriculate and get bigger, is by word of mouth. And since I joined Pathways 4 years ago, it's huge now. It's expanding everywhere, and that's, I think, would help.
And it's still in Utah, and it's still not overly advertised, right? Like my bishop didn't know what it was. Like I needed an ecclesiastical endorsement, and I had to explain it to my bishop. So it's still not overly announced in the church. Like it is word of mouth growing. And so I think this same mentoring program, if it was that successful and people felt that good about it, they're going to talk about it. You just have to make sure that the implementation stays in place.
Yeah.
And get the supervisors excited about it.
For sure.
Yeah.
So how can they encourage people who really need mentoring to get mentoring?
I think just showing them the benefits from it, showing, you know, having, maybe setting up informational interview with the people that have done the mentoring program, and just helping those new employees or future employees to understand the benefits and what it can help them do in the future and how it can help their career. And show them that it's not something that's forced, but it's something that is going to benefit them.
I think it could be part of their yearly reviews, you know, with their supervisor, and he could sit down when he sets goals, when he helps them to come up with goals for the following year. Maybe that could be included as an idea for improving.
Yeah.
And I think that approach will also help them get enough people to mentor.
Well, if
Yeah.
I have a supervisor come up to me and say, I love the things that you're doing for our company. I would love to have a whole team of you. And so I was wondering if you would consider mentoring some of the other employees. I would be flattered. I would be like, sure, I don't mind sharing my skills and knowledge with other people so that they can be, you know, better themselves as well.
I think, Lisa, I think you're right. I think the key is getting these supervisors on board, because that would flatter pretty much anybody in a workplace, right? My daughter, that happened to my daughter at school. The teacher came up to her and was like, you're a really good student, and this person is struggling, and didn't really explain why this other child was struggling, but basically she has autism. And so just said to my daughter, she's having a hard time. So will you sit by her, and will you be her friend, and will you help her? And in the end, it helped my daughter because she had an instant friend. Like, you know, in sixth, 7th, 8th grade, you kind of have friend battles, right? And so she had an instant go-to friend because she was helping that person. And but it was that the supervisor, right? The teacher was on board. The teacher could see that it would benefit. And it was basically, I went to the principal. I'm like, she's really struggling with friends. I don't know how to help her. I don't really want to get involved. And she's like, oh, we have some ideas. And then the teacher went to her and was like, hey, will you please help this girl? She's having a hard time. Instant friend, instant problem solved for daughter without friends. So I think the key is supervisors, getting them on board.
Just using the mission experience is like missionaries preparing progress reports for the bishop or the PEC. That bishop were teaching this family this summer. We think they need somebody to fellowship them, or we think they need a home teacher or visiting teacher, or we feel this person is better qualified to, you know, making this kind of recommendation. And when that is done, the mentoring will be very effective.
Yeah.
So here said, ask each team member what they will do. Ask them to be specific at what they will do, and then we'll also list the suggestions. We'll come up with the pros and cons for each suggestion that we'll make, and then we're going to have a vote. So it is a preliminary vote for the election. So maybe let's start with Wendy. What would you suggest? What specific would you? Yes.
For the mentoring program?
Mm-hmm.
I really think providing more opportunities for word of mouth would be important, because I think that's talking to my husband about like what doctors we see here. All the doctors that we see, we've lived in the area for about 20 years, but all the doctors that we see, we go to them because of word of mouth. And that's why we tried them out. Some of them we didn't like and we moved on. So I think it's important for them to really encourage the ones that have gone through the program to talk about it, and maybe have a team meeting with the whole company and have people talk about it in front of the whole company. Because I am naturally a shy person, and I would not, if I saw that, I wouldn't be like, oh, let's go try that. That will make me be in an uncomfortable situation where I have to talk to someone I don't know. But if I had word of mouth, or someone said, oh, you know what, I'm a shy person too, but this really helped me and helped me further my career in the company. I think that would be good.
Okay, that's a very fine suggestion. Providing more opportunities by word of mouth. Okay, so how about Sarah?
I think we need to get the supervisors more involved in it. I think if we show them how they can be happier workers, more productive in their jobs because they understand their responsibilities better. It talked about how 7 out of the 25 were promoted. That looks good for a supervisor too. People are moving up under your watch. So, point out to the supervisor how it's going to help his team, how it's going to help the company as a whole, and get them more on board with it. I think that would be a huge help for the program.
Hey, that's also a wonderful point to getting the supervisors more involved. Lisa?
I agree 100% with what Sarah and Wendy said. I would also add that they need to do some sort of a revision to the program so that it does not take quite as much time away from their daily jobs as it has. So that, it doesn't have such an impact on their company negatively, but that they can still fit it into their workday somehow.
Okay, so more like restructuring the program for time purpose so that you don't waste much time. You don't use productive time for other things.
Correct.
Okay, Wendy? No, Cindy, sorry.
No, you're good. I would say also just making sure, I mean, I agree with the things that we've said for sure. And then I would say making sure that Amy's taken care of. Does Amy need more help? Does she need more resources to bring in more speakers? She'd brought in some speakers. There was a time when a mentor dropped out, and then she had to step in and be the mentor for that group until the next one came in. So if this is a pull on your HR department, you need to make sure that they have the resources they need to keep the implementation going. Like I said, I don't think it's broken. I don't think there's much you need to do with it other than make sure you can maintain it. And like we were talking about, the people that got turned down, they need to have some kind of lottery system or guaranteed rolling enrollment or some kind of something to keep those people interested, to hold their interest until it gets around to the next time while you're supporting the people who are in it.
Okay, so making sure Amy gets the resources she needs and the HR department to make that available so she don't get stranded.
Yeah, and then making sure the people that applied that got turned down have that chance to come in right away, but that they're still supported in the meantime because they were obviously interested. There's obviously a need for them. So make sure you support those people somehow while you're waiting for them to get in the program.
Okay. That's it. Alex?
I think it's important for them to advertise the program, get it out there, just like everybody else said, and to go to the people in the company, go to the employees, and find out what they would like, find out what might help them best, just to take their thoughts into view and because that's what the mentor program's for. It's for the employees, and so to go and talk to them and find out what would best help them and to put those things into the mentor program would definitely help it a lot. And to maybe look at other companies that have done a similar mentor program and see what they have done and see how it's worked for them could definitely help this program to take off and to really benefit the company.
So that's about advertising the program and making broad consultations to how it should go.
Yeah.
Quite wonderful. I agree with all you've said, and they're wonderful, very specific points, because all of this point out to making the mentoring program more effective. I will suggest putting up a system in which the identification of specific talents, you know, so that when you're placing them on the mentoring side, you know, if you're assigning somebody to be mentored by Alex, you know why you're sending that person to Alex for this and that reason. And then you probably get to communicate to Alex that we want you to mentor this person and just kind of give a brief background of the person and why the need for that mentoring exercise so that Alex will know what his responsibilities or specific goal to achieve at the end of the mentoring period, which more like ties into what Lisa said about revisiting the program, restructuring it to make it more effective with the use of time. So we're gradually wrapping up. Said with these suggestions, so have the team vote on the approach they like best. Which one? We've talked about in listing the suggestions. We kind of explained the pros and cons. So which of these suggestions do we like best? Let me just remind you. We have providing more opportunity by word of mouth, getting the supervisors more involved. We also have revisiting the program for time purposes and making sure Emmy is taken care of, and those turned down get back in, advertise the program and make broad consultation, and then do proper identification of talent and placement. So my understanding is we need to come up with all of these suggestions. We need to come up with one. So which one works best?
I would say getting the supervisors involved is going to solve a lot of those issues. I think that's the one that stands out to me.
I vote for supervisors.
I also kind of feel like taking care of the HR department, because if they're going to get burnt out, they're not going to, it's not going to run as smoothly. It's going to fall apart. So.
Are we allowed to make a combination of?
You don't get a vote for two presidents, Alex. You don't get the best of both, or the most, or the worst of both.
Yeah, for real.
Way to sit on the fence, though.
I'd say the supervisors is definitely a good idea. Getting them involved, I think, would definitely help move the program forward.
I think if the supervisors are on board, you might have less strain on the HR because they're not like worrying about the diplomacy, right? They're not like dealing with, well, my supervisor won't let me do this. My supervisor's upset about this. I think it will probably take a little burden off HR if we can get those supervisors to stop giving them flack.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's okay. My vote supervisors.
Okay, so getting the supervisors. This is a declaration of result, kind of.
Yeah.
So getting the supervisors take the lead. So I think the other ones falls in if the supervisors are involved. There to provide more opportunity by the word of mouth ad, and they will that will mean that Emmy will have less time to have less stressful moments, and with that they can give constructive feedback as to how best to restructure the program so that they will be very effective, and it kind of takes care of the every other thing as Lisa said. So these are all the questions we have for today's group meeting. So anything that was missed out?
I don't think so. Just I would say let's get working on the doohickeys again and do the same thing as we did last week, where we put a problem about the training at doohickeys and 4 solutions at doohickeys by Saturday night again.
All right, sounds good.
Do you agree, Wendy? Having done the first one and then looking at what we have so far for the second one?
Yes, okay. I think that's very helpful. And is Alex, are you gonna write it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I wasn't sure because we weren't kind of sure where it fell.
Yeah, because it's due next week, after next week, right? Yeah, week 8, and Alex is the lead next
Yeah.
week. So,
Okay.
um, so you looked for outside sources last week, Alex. So this time, if whatever you want to do, I think anyone that can add outside sources, that's fine. And then just have something ready by Saturday night to all look at, so that Alex doesn't get overwhelmed next week.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just before we leave next week, Wednesday, you might not have me for the meeting. I'll be traveling to Nigeria for my father's funeral.
Oh no.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's there, but understanding of the gospel is a great blessing, and just happy for the restoration of the gospel.
For
So
sure.
I tend traveling from Ghana next week. Just trying to see how best I can do alter next week's assignment as well, so that I don't get any left undone.
So you will be out starting Wednesday, probably for the rest of the week then. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Mm. The funeral's on Friday, so and since his passing, I haven't visited with my family, so kind of spend a couple more days with them before coming back to Accra.
Okay.
Would it help to meet a day earlier? Could anyone meet earlier? Would that help you, or is that just more on your plate?
A day earlier. If within a day earlier, that'll be Monday, but Monday will not be too good.
Okay. I think you're okay if you watch the recording. Like if you just let Brother Stanley know that you're out of town and what the situation is, and that you watch the recording. I think you'll be okay.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then just post whatever thoughts you can that, like from last week and this week, to doohickeys.
Yeah.
Then I think you'll be okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so do I need to go back over what we discussed or just okay?
Oh, I think it's just okay.
I think it's okay.
I'm gonna have to sign off. I've got to get going, but it was great talking with everybody.
All right, thank you so much for the time.
All right.
Yep, thanks.
Bye bye.
Good luck, Elijah, next week.